Welcome to Outside Views. Today we begin a new series, the BRITURN, the Obstacles. And this is Chapter 1, the Free Movement of Goods. As we delve into the possibility of the UK joining the European Union again, it's essential to understand that this would not be a simple return. There is no automatic mechanism to reverse Brexit. Instead, the UK would have to apply for membership just like any other aspiring country, going through the rigorous accession process. And in this series, we'll explore each step and challenge of that journey, starting with the free movement of goods. The free movement of goods is a cornerstone of the European Union. It ensures that products can be traded freely across all member states without internal borders or unnecessary restrictions. And this principle is designed to foster competition, reduce costs for consumers, and create a unified market that benefits all EU members. However, this is not just an abstract idea, it's underpinned by a complex and harmonized regulatory framework. The EU's legislation on goods is divided into two main approaches, the old approach and the new approach. The old approach focuses on precise product specifications, ensuring that products meet detailed standardized requirements. And the new approach, on the other hand, imposes general product requirements but allows flexibility in how those requirements are met. Both approaches require extensive harmonization of laws, technical standards, and regulatory practices. For the UK, joining the EU again would mean aligning its rules and regulations with these harmonized frameworks. And this is where the challenges begin. Since Brexit, the UK has diverged significantly from EU standards in some areas. Take, for instance, the UK's retained EU law bill, which sought to review or sunset thousands of pieces of EU-derived legislation. Wasn't that many, but still. And while some of these laws remain intact, others have been amended or replaced, creating potential inconsistencies with EU rules. And to rejoin, the UK would need to reverse the changes, bringing its regulatory framework back into alignment with the EU's acquis communautaire. And one specific example is the area of product safety standards. The EU's CE marking system ensures that products meet strict safety, health and environmental standards before they can be sold in the single market. Post-Brexit, the UK introduced its own UK CA marking system, which is similar but not identical. And for the UK to meet the requirements of the Free Movement of Goods chapter, it would likely need to abandon the UK CA system and revert to CE marking. And this would require not only legislative changes, but also significant adjustments for businesses that have adapted to the new UK-specific system. Another critical component of this chapter is administrative capacity. To ensure the free movement of goods, member states must have robust systems for standardization, conformity assessment, accreditation, metrology, and market surveillance. And these systems ensure that products entering the single market comply with EU rules and that any restrictions on trade are justified and transparent. Post-Brexit, the UK's administrative capacity in these areas has been reduced. Rebuilding this capacity would be a significant undertaking, requiring investments in institutions, training for staff, and a commitment to ongoing cooperation with EU bodies. And then there's the issue of trade barriers. Since leaving the EU, UK businesses have faced significant challenges exporting goods to the EU due to customs checks, rules of origin requirements, and other non-tariff barriers. Joining the EU again would remove these barriers, but only after the UK demonstrates its ability to fully implement and enforce EU rules. And this process would involve not just legislative alignment, but also building trust with EU member states and EU institutions. The principle of mutual recognition also plays a significant role in the free movement of goods. Under this principle, a product lawfully marketed in one EU member state can be sold in any other member state without additional checks. And for the UK to benefit from this principle again, it would need to align its regulatory framework entirely with EU rules. And this means implementing not only product-specific regulations, but also overarching frameworks that govern market surveillance and consumer protection. The harmonization of technical standards is another critical aspect. The EU relies on a network of European standardization organizations to develop common standards for products and services. Post-Brexit, the UK is no longer a full member of these organizations, limiting its ability to influence the development of standards that affect its industries in that case. And joining the EU again would require the UK to re-establish full membership in these organizations and ensure that its domestic standards and the standards bodies align with EU norms. And a particularly challenging area is the market surveillance. Effective market surveillance ensures that products on the market comply with regulations and do not pose risks to consumers. And this requires a well-resourced infrastructure, including testing facilities, trained inspectors, and robust enforcement mechanisms. Post-Brexit, the UK's market surveillance capacity has faced budget cuts and resource constraints. Rebuilding this capacity to meet EU standards would require significant investments and political commitment. And political challenges also loom large. The principle of the free movement of goods is deeply tied to the broader ideas of the single market. By joining the EU again, the UK would need to accept the four freedoms overall: the free movement of goods, services, capital and people as a package. And this could reignite debates about sovereignty and control, particularly among those who supported Brexit as a means of reducing EU influence. Convincing the British public and political class to embrace these principles again would require a clear and compelling case for the economic and social benefits of EU membership. But how difficult would it be for the UK to complete this first chapter? And the answer depends on several factors. On one hand, the UK has a long history of alignment with EU rules, and many of its systems and institutions are still influenced by that legacy. And this could make the technical aspects of alignment easier compared to a country starting from scratch. On the other hand, the political and administrative challenges are quite substantial. The process would require not only technical expertise, but also political will and public support. And it's also important to consider the EU's perspective. The EU is unlikely to reopen its rule to accommodate a returning member. Instead, the UK would need to demonstrate its willingness and ability to fully comply with existing EU laws and standards. And this includes not just transposing legislation, but also proving that it can effectively enforce these rules. Given the tensions and mistrust that have arisen since Brexit, rebuilding this relationship would take time and effort. And the accession process itself adds another layer of complexity. Before formal negotiations begin, the UK would need to meet the Copenhagen criteria, which include demonstrating stable democratic institutions, a functioning market economy, and the capacity to adopt the EU's acquis. And this would involve comprehensive reforms across various sectors, including judicial independence, anti-corruption measures, and human rights protections. And while the UK meets many of these criteria, the political and economic upheaval since Brexit could raise questions about its readiness to join. So in conclusion, Chapter 1, the free movement of goods, highlights both the opportunities and obstacles of a potential BRITURN. That's a word we hear even more often. And while the benefits of joining the EU single market again are clear, the process of aligning with its rules and standards would be far from straightforward. For the UK, this chapter is not just about legislation, it's about rebuilding trust, restoring administrative capacity, and demonstrating a commitment to the principle of European integration. So thank you for joining me on this first step in our exploration of the obstacles to BRITURN. And if you found this analysis insightful, please like the video, share it, and subscribe to Outside Views for more in-depth discussions on European politics after Brexit. And let's continue the conversation in the comments, of course. What do you think about the UK's ability to align with the EU's rules on the free movement of goods? I look forward to your thoughts. And as always, stay informed and see you in the next video, one of those you see right here in the end screen.